Yeah. You'll exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so here I am. We are starting Neanderthal Talks, Stonehead Interviews. I am Antonio Christopher Lovato, and I am here with
Joe Garner.
Awesome. Joe's really cool. When I met Joe, I met him out in public, and we were talking about how things that were hidden were becoming open. And I'm going to lead with this, is not once did we talk about work, not once did we talk about, how do we pay our bills. We just existed and shared what was interesting. And I lead with this simply because I feel like nowadays there's less and less genuine and real conversations. Perhaps this is not a generational problem. Perhaps every generation's felt it amongst different cultures of people. However, I'm with Joe, and I know at the end of the day, I'm with someone who shares real connection and real conversations. So Joe, how about you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on tonight. Like, it's really exciting to kind of be a part of the, maybe first or second video that you've done, and I appreciate that you thought of me to be that person to come on. So, yeah, just a little background on me. I am a life coach, meditation coach. I have a podcast called Changing the Channel with Joe Garner. And then I have an online platform. It's it's on School, Alex Ramosey's program or company. And it's just about how to calm the nervous system, how to, kind of build a meditation practice, how to get in touch with your intuition.
Yeah.
Which is always helpful. It's called the Flow Forum. So it's school.com/theflowforum, and that'll get you to that, and it's free to sign up. Just a bunch of free resources that I give out to people that are probably going through similar things that I've experienced in my life, and it's an opportunity to kind of get back to them, to give back to people and help them along their journey, and just enjoy it.
Yeah. I was saying to my sister earlier today, actually, that one of the few things I was learning about Joe as time was going on that could be perceived as labor related were all of these free things this man's doing and sharing with people. And I think that's a beautiful and awesome thing, because oftentimes you meet people and it's transactional, whether it's between me and you or you and a business, or just like energy to energy. And it's very few and far between where you meet companies or you meet individuals who feel like they can just produce and give.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that I feel like is happening in my life, is that all I do is work, and all I do is make things that are just available to people. And it's like, that's what I do for work. But if you were to share that in a conversation, oftentimes I feel like you're silly or odd, because you don't have this technical
what do you do
term.
for money? Like, that kind of thing. You kind of experience that. I've experienced that, at least. I tell people I'm a meditation teacher, and they're like, oh, what do you do, but for work, And it's like, well, that's what I do for work. That's what I enjoy doing. And do I have other odd jobs and stuff like that? Of course, but when you ask me, what do I do in life? Like, that's what I do. I help people connect with their soul,
Yeah, and I think that when we look at it, that's what we all need to be aiming for. I do think it's really unfortunate that when we interact with people, a lot of times our interactions are based on what is our perceived value by our job. With that being said, we do work hard at what we do. And you mentioned school, and when I think of school, I think of Hermosey. I think of someone who has done nothing but put out a bunch of free stuff, because what's interesting about school is it's one of many things he's working towards. And he's a big writer, he's a big event coordinator, and he's a big consultant. And I think when we look at, coaching, consulting always kind of comes along with it. And if you could just sort of share sort of the things you talk about on the school platform, that would be great. Before we go into that, I'll just say that I was going through your program, and a lot of it seemed basic for someone who's probably been doing what you've been doing for the last decade alongside you. He's been going for 2 decades though, guys. So, though it might seem like old news to me, these people, this is probably an audience that doesn't understand these foundational kind of simple concepts
Yeah.
in regards to being present in our world. And if you could just unpack that a bit for us.
Yeah. So what I put on the school platform is just it's an introduction to what I've been learning, working on, experiencing in my life for the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 years or so. So it really started out with meditation, and this was the biggest one for me, was getting into and understanding essentially transcendental meditation. That was like the foundation for me. I did this program called Ziva Meditation. Her name's Emily Fletcher. Really just, she went to India, got certified, like very well certified from high level meditation teachers, transcendental meditation, a couple of different other meditations as well. And really, that was the foundation for me, was this transcendental meditation, being able to calm my mind before every day, before the busyness of the day started.
Yeah.
So it starts with that, and then it's based on 4 pillars basically. You got mindfulness, meditation, intuition, and purpose. You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Mindfulness is kind of the start. Meditation kind of gets you a little bit deeper into it. Mindfulness being, essentially understanding what is happening inside of your mind. Like, that's really what mindfulness is. It doesn't have to be this deep meditation. You don't have to go into the rainforest and spend 2 weeks down with some shaman to go into some deep meditation. Like, you can access this all day, every day. A little bit of mindfulness. Just take a moment to think about the thoughts that you're having and not, associate with them for that long. Maybe it's just a fleeting thought that you have. It comes and it goes. That's like the start of mindfulness. Then you get into meditation, and that's when you're actively changing your brain waves. So you're going from beta brainwave state, which is like the standard waking state, into either a theta or an alpha or sometimes a gamma. That would be like a really heightened level of awareness. And you can kind of dictate where your frequency is using meditation. And then as you start to get deeper into meditation, you start to listen to and hear for intuition, that guiding voice inside of you that's always giving you direction in your life. And then finally purpose. And purpose really is like, once you understand why you're here, like what you're doing, that's when life really starts to unlock. That's when doors start to open, start to meet people that are in that same wavelength, that same frequency, and everything just starts to kind of gel. So finding that purpose, that reason why you're here on this planet, in this human existence, that unlocks like the next level of life for a lot of people.
Yeah, when you say that, I thought to myself, it's kind of interesting how we go through the tiers that are the tools, and sort of as you gain your tools, you discover yourself. And that's where the purpose comes. But it's you don't get the purpose without the tools. It's almost through the work of learning to ground, of learning to watch your thoughts. Is when you also get the recipe as to why you're supposed to do it. Because now it's just kind of the staircase or the cycle, restarts, and you're on to the next level, and you have to be like, oh, well, this is my purpose. And if I want to work towards it, I have to be mindful. Oh, is this thought mine? Or is it, something that I think is associated, but it's actually not necessary?
Yeah.
And when you think about these things, it can feel like an undertaking. What are some simple ones that we could look for, whether it's ones on your website, on your school already, or a particular video that you would like, or just an easy exercise, or a few that you think are like the ones you could do within 30 seconds. For example, if I'm out in public, I say I'm gonna open my body language when I'm nervous. And when I'm nervous, I'm gonna say, okay, I'm excited. What sort of things have you learned worked with you?
I would say, if you're looking for videos, I've got a couple videos on my YouTube channel. It's at Garnation, and just simple meditations, 20-second, 1 minute, 3-minute meditations. And again, all you're doing is turning the focus inside, turn your focus onto your thoughts, and then using what I call mantra, you kind of disassociate those thoughts from who you are. Like you separate yourself from the thoughts. So every time you get caught up in like this conversation that you're having with yourself, right? That internal dialogue that's always running. As soon as you feel that, you can bring that mantra back in and you break that chain of thought. And then every time you break that chain of thought, you're starting to build a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of awareness of what's happening inside of your mind.
Yeah.
So that's one I always recommend. Again, free videos on YouTube, or if you go to school, there's a bunch of videos on how to do that properly.
Yeah, that's where I kind of got more like 2 or 3 minute practices where you would do the guided meditations. Do you have any quick tricks when you're out in public, or do you just not feel nervous? That's actually a potential.
Well, yeah.
You know?
When I'm in public, I've lived a whole different life. I haven't always been, this connected or this, being able to feel people's energies and stuff like that. So when I go out in public, like I'm very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I got 25 years of going out in public and enjoying and being, with people and enjoying. Yeah. So it's never been, I don't think I get nervous when I go out in public. It's just, for me, it's a normal experience, and I get to just enjoy it for what it is.
Okay. Okay. So time really is the answer when we look at life, and anything that we're moving towards is just the ability to work at these things until they become who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some like simple tips, a little bit of energetic hygiene is always good. So like when you're in the shower, right, and you're like cleansing yourself of dirt and sweat and all that stuff, imagine that you're cleansing yourself energetically as well.
Yeah.
Imagine that the water is purifying your nervous system, if you want to imagine it like that, or your energy body, like whatever kind of helps you understand that. But like the way that your body is properly functioning, imagining that in the shower you're kind of cleansing it and bringing some positive energy into your body. And if you, for people that have like ADHD and things that their mind is overactive, taking a shower in the morning is very, very helpful. Like it really kind of resets, re-cleanses, resets their mind a little bit. And it's like a learned pattern. If you always get up, take a shower in the morning, even if you're not doing anything, you don't have to go to work, you don't have to do anything out in public, still get up, take that shower, because it really does start your day. I definitely have experienced that as well.
I find that a lot of times it's the adult habits, and that's why sometimes I say, like, and it could be me being cavalier or careless, but it's like, like these simple things, because like you're 100% right. It's like, because when I take my showers, I think about I literally meditate on like a lot of things I don't feel too well about. I'm like, okay, I got to work on these things, and I'm cleansing myself physically and then metaphysically, and I think it's important to really hone in on those basics, like making your bed, or just having your laundry, whether it's folded or hung up somewhere that it's easy to see, like having a clean space, which may be more than likely is most people's experiences. And if you kind of skew up in life and you look at those who are, doing very well, or just who are happy, comfortable, and healthy, and those who aren't, we find these similarities in like lifestyle hygiene, which is kind of playing into the physical realm. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at life and you're playing with these energies and looking towards moving towards your purpose, what are the things that you're saying I'm gonna really double down on and then not double down on? What are your go-tos and go-aways in this season?
Yeah, right now, my go-tos have definitely been just kind of getting out in nature, going up to the beach, walking around. That's a go-to for me. Some of the things that I think, the lessons that I'm kind of maybe experiencing right now, are finding that balance between trying to go after your purpose like 100% all in, and kind of neglecting other things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been one, just finding the balance between like maybe going a little bit too far into like that purpose-driven life too soon, too early, and just find that good balance where it feels comfortable. You feel like you're stable and on safe ground. Because I've spent, I sold my businesses 3 years ago. I traveled for a year, and I really became kind of a little bit ungrounded. Like I kind of experienced a little bit of what it would feel like to be just kind of a leaf in the wind.
Okay.
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of in that season where I'm coming back into more stability, more like I'm looking at maybe a full-time job and getting into something like that.
Yeah.
So, but still working on the purpose, still doing all the coaching, all the meditations. I'm working on a couple workshops coming up here in the local area. So
Okay.
that'll be fun as well. And then maybe get into a retreat or two. And that would be a good balance because I can still have the job, but then still do all the things that I want to be doing, the purpose-driven part of my life.
I got you. Yeah, it seems like you have had a past, which is very different from my experience with Joe. Is you've had a past of actually doing massive undertakings, and like I've met you while you're just kind of casually working towards these purposes. And the last time we hung out, it's like, I want to feel like I can take more control of the controllables again. And you said you've sort of been aloof for a few years, and I'm aloof in a good sense, thank God.
It's been all positive. I will say that.
But when you look at your life of the times where you've done your best projects or your best works, do you think of any habits that perhaps you watched from your parents or were intentionally installed from your parents or from mentors around you? What things in your youth were going on to really help you kind of take advantage of your 20s and 30s?
Yeah, I would say I was very fortunate that I had some good mentors in my life. As far as like family life, when I was growing up, my mom and dad separated, so didn't actually ever get to speak to my father until I was like 26, 27, after 7 years old. And then, mom was working and she was always kind of out of the house. So me and my sister kind of raised ourselves together. So I had some good soccer coaches growing up that instilled some like really good perspectives on how to live life. Then when I got into college, I would say I joined a fraternity and like had some, I met some really cool kids from very, very, very different backgrounds that I grew up in. And they kind of helped me understand what I did and didn't want in life. It wasn't that I was following in their footsteps, but I was able to see what life would be like from their perspective by getting to know and understand them. So between that and then when I got out of college, a buddy's dad was starting a business and he was like, you guys don't have any jobs. I never applied for a single job in college. Like I wasn't, corporate world was not for me. I did not want to go into that world. So I came back and we were working at a local restaurant here, and the dad was like, hey, I'm starting this business. You guys want to be involved? So we got involved, and it was going to be like a year experience, but we ended up really liking what we were doing. So me and my friend Zach bought into the business. Basically, we did sweat equity into the business and became partners. And ended up growing that to a fairly decent size. I mean, we were multi-seven-figure business in southern Delaware, which was, it was
small and big all at the same time.
Small and big all at the same time.
It's
at one point. At one point it was like
there.
70 employees, and I was working 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. It was a lot, right? It was a whole lot. But I built something like pretty incredible. I helped build something pretty incredible. Obviously, partners are sometimes very, very crucial, especially in those younger years of a company. To have a little bit of help from people that are, in the same boat as you, right? That are in that same group. So, but that was the biggest project that I've done is, kind of build a business over 12 years to grow it. I think the first 6 or 7 years, like the minimum growth we had was 50%.
Okay.
And then we had a couple years where it was higher than that. So just like growing fast, really quick.
Okay. There's one thing I kind of thought about, which is, having a successful company doing housework around the beach area. We've sort of had like kind of consistent and like large explosive growth, but consistent and safe, really.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, but I think one of the biggest things was our emotional, energetic impact with people, which made me think of with you. I've always felt like you're someone who's in tune and present, and then I also am just thinking about like being raised by a mother with a sister, and having to kind of do those things. Like, do you feel like one, was your mother someone who really exemplified empathy, or where did you learn that, if not? And then I'm assuming with her hard work ethic, along with the soccer, the sports, or the good brotherhood, which are those more structured masculine things, like, having those things early on, the empathy and the work probably led you to do well, and as a 20-year-old, be seen as someone to go in with another grown man, really. It's like your buddy
and his dad.
His dad's a grown-up. They were about 2 kids.
Years old at the time that we started,
Yeah.
He had already lived the whole life.
Yeah. So, would you say that your empathy and hard work were things that kind of led to that? And then would you root your empathy more specifically to your mother? And then if not, where so?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely picked up a lot of empathy from my mom. I always saw her. Every time she went out in public, she was talking to people, really listening to people, connecting with people. Like everywhere she went, it didn't matter if we were out to dinner, we were on the beach, we were at a funeral, she was connecting with people and having deep conversations. So that definitely had a huge impact on me being so empathic with people, and that I think that definitely helped out growing the business. Was you can put yourself in other people's shoes. And did I get too busy to like be empathic? Like, did I forget that whole experience during this like massive growth? Yeah, I definitely did, and that was an interesting experience to really kind of lose your empathy for people because you're so busy, you're so focused on what's the next thing I need to do, what's the next event that we're going to do next week, and you lose that connection to the people around you, right? So yeah, definitely from my mom for sure. Growing up in a household of only women, at one point we were taking care of my great grandmother, so it was me and 3 women, 3 generations of women. That had a big effect on me not being so caught up in the masculine, this masculine idea of what we need to be, which was very helpful. It helped me see outside of the box a little bit. But again, that was a little bit difficult growing up too, because you think you're the same as all the other friends, right? You think you and them are having the same thoughts, when in reality, you guys are experiencing a whole different reality. Their reality is based on what their parents taught them, their mentors, and their what is the story that they're telling themselves inside of their mind.
Exactly.
So, that was a little bit difficult growing up until, 26, 27, I really understood, everybody's having a different experience than me. That nobody's experiencing the same reality that I'm experiencing. So you have to be empathic to understand where people are coming from, right? You got to feel into who they are and what they want and what are their desires. And when you do that, you can lead effectively. You can make connections effectively. So having empathy in business is super crucial. And that's always been I would say hasn't always been, but when I found it again, it led me to many positive outcomes with employees.
Well, it just makes me think, you mentioned working on the boardwalk in Millville, and like that's kind of the opposite of that business. Like in many ways, there's labor and construction and things like that going on, and you have to lead people and exercise the masculine, but the whole project in itself is like geared towards families and kids.
That was a fun project.
I'm
I
assuming
definitely enjoyed
so.
that.
I'm assuming so. So do you think at the time when you were with, it's real, whatever, you know, like, do you think at that time when you were with the guys in your fraternity that you kind of really were noticing that there's options?
Yeah.
You know, and like, or was this even younger, or maybe even both?
No, it was definitely. It wasn't until college where I thought, you know,
yeah, 'cause you
there
said,
were
like,
tons of
26
options
and
out there.
27, so even like, you know, you were just out here kind of living, feeling like everyone's on the same jive, really.
Right.
Dancing to the same tune, kind of like Watts in regards to beating to your own drum. You just thought everyone had the same drum.
Yeah,
perhaps.
exactly.
Like, and I'm sure loosely. How much did you have to work to undo a lot of these ways of thinking, and then how much of your thoughts do you think were good overall?
Shoot.
I know as a young man, a lot of great things came from my sisters and my mom.
Yeah.
But I had to really actually aggressively pursue like work ethic, you know, and things like that, and be like, you know, forthright with that. And it seems like you've always had that. But,
Yeah, you know, again, I don't really know exactly where that comes from. You know,
Yeah.
probably, you know, again, seeing my mom, she was working 2 jobs a whole bunch all the time, like getting us through. So that was always kind of in my psyche. My grandfather was a super hard worker,
Okay.
so I had kind of that reference as well. And then, yeah, a lot of a couple of my friends' dads, like they were managers in business, they were owners in business, so you kind of see them when you're going over to their house. So again, just having like good mentors in my life has really provided this ability to have that sense of, you know, go out there and make something big, do something big.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Do you think that there is anything that you can like pinpoint where you're like, oh, I didn't get that until, you know, you kind of started realizing all the other people's worlds were just as full and completely different?
yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think up until that point, like I really had any reference to seeing things from somebody else's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got to that point where I think I was reading Think Again, which was a book by Adam Grant, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he put it really well, that everybody is having this experience based on their past experiences leading up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many people are allowing their past to dictate their current reality instead of being able to look into the future to, you know, connect with a future that you want to be experiencing.
Yeah.
So for me, up until 26, 27, I was living strictly through the past. I was only allowing the past to dictate what I thought was possible into the future. And 26, 27, 28, when I started kind of expanding my awareness,
Yeah.
that's when it started to be like, oh, I can actually envision a future and begin to either work towards that or attract that future to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is always a little bit of part of that journey is deciding, like I said in the beginning, like deciding how much you're pushing for something and how much you're allowing for something.
Yeah.
Like finding that good balance between
Okay.
active and passive.
Yeah, yeah. And is this when you think a lot more of your collaboration was happening? Because it seems like even though you sort of were aware, you had like it sounds like you really had such a solid foundation to begin with. So did everything just start to fit into place, or what was was there anything jarring other than, wow, everyone
Yeah.
else is here?
Yeah, everything
You know?
just started to fit into place. And
Okay.
yeah, started to things just came together. It just as far as like growing the business and stuff like that, like everything just kind of fell into place. found the right people, we had the right stuff. It did get difficult. We didn't do a lot of work to kind of properly grow a business, and we had a lot of bottlenecks building up as we expanded and expanded. But
And is this happening kind of pushing you realizing, I'm assuming, if things aren't working out,
Yeah, that's-
it's causing harm in all
that's
sorts
what
of
pushed me.
relationships.
Exactly. That's what pushed me to be better as a person. Was I was like falling apart with this business, and I needed new skills, new perspectives to take on what I needed to take on at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And then those perspectives lead to new perspectives, and again, I think that's always the thing is that once you start growing, there's no limit to the amount that you can.
No, yeah, it's always like ever forward.
Right.
You know? So when this is happening, so to say, like things aren't working out and you're finding yourself frustrated with the others' like inability to hold what you thought they should hold. And
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm dealing with it, and like, is it like, because you can't grow that team of those people without seeing them clearly.
Yeah.
So is it just like not noticing that like they're just like built different, or anything
Well,
there?
I mean, things start to fall apart when you're not connected, right? When people on your team aren't operating in the same capacity or the same level, they're not working together, they're not seeing each other. Things start to fall apart.
Okay.
Teams start to fall apart. One of the hardest lessons was just the fact that when you hire people, they're coming in at all different levels, and you got to really, like, as soon as you get them on board, you got to figure out where they fit in and try to give them a pathway to, finding who they need to be in this role, in this position. So that was always a thing for me was, we were putting people in the wrong places. Things started to break down, and that's, I think that's like the natural process of creation, right? Like where things aren't working well, where you're not in alignment, they start to break down. They start to decay because you're not connecting with those people. You're not having an energy transaction with those people, so that relationship starts to break down.
Yeah.
So that's really where I felt it was. The business wasn't functioning like a smooth machine anymore, and there was just a lot of things going on, and the reason that was because of me. Like that was the pill that I had to swallow. That it wasn't everybody else's fault or problem. It was my fault. I allowed it to get to this place, and
I'm not seeing where everyone fit.
Not seeing where everybody
and how,
fit.
God forbid, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're not
or
perfect.
yeah, exactly. Or when they messed up, like being very upset because I'm like, well, I mean, how do you not know this? Not realizing that I was built different, that I had experienced a different reality than they had.
Yeah, maybe the one person literally just had less hours on the job, different training, maybe not good training.
Yeah.
Oh, there's all these reasons. I think often when I talk to my mother, my partner, my mother, about work and kind of growing, and it's like the issue isn't like training a person, it's finding people who want to kind of submit to the right culture to begin with. Because when you teach people culture, the job description and the job responsibilities will be fulfilled.
Yeah.
But like if you have, like you could teach someone how to mop a floor, or to make a bed, or to cook an egg, anything, but to do it well, you have to care. You know what I mean? And if you're hiring people who don't care, or if they just want to, maybe they care about other things, they have a family,
They do, yeah.
all these other stuff, and you haven't communicated the importance of the care here because you haven't cared enough about them. And it's like when you do that, you have to then care about creating culture, because the minute you choose that intimacy and I say I'm going to care about you, I have to figure out what's going on in your reality, really.
Right.
And if I do that, then I find out that, wow, your culture is different. And now it's like, well, how can I work on that issue? One, appropriately, and then also professionally, and then in a manner that they want and are excited about moving towards.
Yeah.
And I think that's potentially, whether the culture is for the better or for worse, or being spoiled. Better or for worse, it could be like an apple or a Tesla, when we see these kind of hyper periods of aggressive work and
Oh, it's
the
all
culture
culture.
is
It's all culture.
sacrifice. And it's like, well, they share the culture so it works. Now, I'm sure a lot of burnout is associated with it, and probably a lot of future, super rich millionaires retired because of the work they put in with these companies.
Right.
But looking at life now, when you were working on the latest project at the boardwalk, and then doing things even with your the Rehoboth kind
Art
of
League, yeah.
the Rehoboth Art League, and kind of getting people to come together. Where do you feel like you got better at identifying culture and then orchestrating culture to move in the direction that you think is best?
Yeah. I mean, where I learned it from was just researching, reading some books, and then really getting to spend a little bit of time in different businesses and see what their culture was like, and understand how to build culture. Because that was the realization for me was, I didn't build a culture. A culture was built in a company that I was running. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a choice by me to build this culture, even though, arguably they were looking at the leaders of the organization for the culture. So in a way, I built that culture just unconsciously.
Yeah.
So once I figured that out, then you're reading books, you're learning from people, you're experiencing what business looks like from other people's businesses. So you get to ask people, you get to see. I remember I sat down with a local builder early on, maybe first or second year we were in business, and he dropped bomb after bomb of like brilliant information on how to run a business, how to build culture, how to make sure that you know what each person needs to be doing each day. Not necessarily that you have to make sure that they do them, but just know that they have something that they need to be doing. And again, we picked up some, we disregarded some, to our own peril, basically. But
And success simultaneously.
and success, yeah. We took some of the ones that we did. So, getting to experience different organizations as well. So going into Rehoboth Art League, as basically an interim executive director, gave me an opportunity to really see like the complete opposite side of what an organization looks like, because they're extremely heart-led. They have their whole thing is purpose. That's it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So making money, having protocols and how SOPs, standard operating procedures, any of those things, you had to introduce them to this organization, because their focus was, how do we get and build artists that can make money, that can do this part-time, full-time, whatever that is. So that it was very interesting to experience, basically the full other side of the spectrum on how to run an organization. And with that, I kind of found a little bit of balance of both. You have to have that freedom and give people that freedom to kind of pursue what they believe is the right thing to pursue. And make sure that they have standard operating procedures and they know what the end goal is for the organization.
In like a technical sense,
Both in technical and in purpose. Like if you don't know what the purpose of your organization is, let's say, you don't have 5 or 6 key points that your organization runs off of. This is one thing that we instilled at the event rental company was, we put it up on the board. We had a pole barn that was our warehouse, and on the board we put, these are the 5 top things that Coastal stands for. Integrity, accountability, well-run events. I think teamwork was one, and I'm sure there was either 1 or 2 more. But those are the things that your organization runs off of. And it was amazing to me to see when you just put it on the board and mention it once a week in a meeting or something like that, how quickly people start to climb on to this idea of the culture, and that you're a part of something, and that you're building something that is more.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I was just talking to my mate, and we're going over the fact that like he has all of these ideas and projects he wants to work on, but it's like every time I try to pin him down to like some structure, he like starts to flounder a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, like you gotta like realize it's like if like watch my life, it's like my biggest thing is structure, and like that's where all of the expression gets to flow from. So just kind of having those two big things right there, which is having that conservative foundational energy along with that liberal emotional energy.
Yeah.
Other than those two things, what do you think is really important to kind of having a good culture that you've learned over time?
Yeah, I mean, involving everyone in decisions like that's probably one of the largest things that you see from very large organizations that they typically don't do well because they have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 people. Like, how do you get consensus from 100,000 people?
Yeah.
You know, but
I think
especially
bureaucracy.
In bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is top down. They're not getting information from the bottom of the organization to make the decisions from the top, right?
They just create a long chain.
It's just a long chain. There's one person that has this vision of the future. That's the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
They have a vision of what they think the organization should do. And that filters down through 15 or 16 organizational levels.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy at the bottom that's actually doing the work,
Yeah.
you think he has any idea what the vision of that company is?
No, probably. They probably have a group that is supposed to think for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that person reports on.
Exactly.
and
So
their
bureaucracy,
tier system.
I don't
so
think...
it's kind of the actual, it seems like that. It's like, oh, a long supply chain, everyone gets to have an opinion. But it's really not.
Not in practice. In theory, possibly.
Yeah,
but in practice, it doesn't seem to. So this is where kind of
So
decentralization...
how do we kind of keep that flow where you're not just getting into like the choking up of the chain when you give everyone an opinion?
That's you know, again, that's where we have to start to agree on a like culture across more than just an organization. Like, this is culture across regions and countries, and then eventually kind of like a global, you know, this kind of global culture. I think that's where we are moving towards.
It seems like it in many ways and already do, because all governments talk to other governments. And we hope that POTUS, Commander-in-Chief, is representing us.
Yeah, well, that's where you get into bureaucracy again, because I think the systems that we have built right now are highly bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Top down, you know, we know what we're doing, and there's little input from the bottom.
Okay.
We have, I don't want to say we have the illusion of voting, but
Yeah.
the people
Well,
that
that's
we
what
are
I'm
voting,
thinking of.
the
Like,
people
I'm
that we
thinking of
vote
these
for,
companies, and I'm like, I
yeah.
feel like they all try to tell us that we're all a part of it. Like, maybe I'm brainwashed. I'm like, because I feel like I am a part of it. I think the POTUS does care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, I'm thinking about it. But, like, so
I
it's
mean-
creating a culture where everyone feels like they're, not only feels like they have a voice, but the voice is actually being paid attention to. It's-
or structuring it in a completely different way where it's more like very decentralized. Instead of
Okay.
having to vote for one person, you have councils of people that are making decisions,
Mhm.
you know, which in
But isn't that bureaucracy? Isn't that
Well-
what they do? Is they create a council for this group and that group and that group.
exactly, but they,
You know.
maybe
Do you think it's a size thing? Like, maybe when we're dealing with smaller organizations, it works, but when
For sure.
you have cross organizations and
I think there's
large
probably a
amounts of
number.
people.
1,000, 2,000 people is probably, again, we grew up as a species in tribes of 250.
Yeah,
After
yeah.
250, you can't possibly know somebody. You know,
Mhm.
you know their name, you might know like their wife's name and a hobby that they do, but you don't know that person.
Yeah.
Right? That's where religion came in. Religion was a way for groups larger than 250 to basically trade with each other and be able to trust each other because
There's a
you have
certain
the same
system.
faith,
Yeah.
I have the same faith. That was like this unifying force of religions. You know, religions being one of the largest cultures that, again, Christianity, 1.2 billion people. Like, that's the largest culture in the world, right?
And I
But yeah.
suppose there's a lot of big things happening, but just because I'm a Christian, just because Joe's a Christian, or not Joe. I was trying to use Joe as a general name.
Yeah.
Your name is Joe. That's
I mean, I grew up Roman Catholic, so.
Yeah. But just because my other, the other guy, and I know you, so I'm trying to like, the other guy.
David.
Yeah, David. There we go. Just because David's Christian doesn't mean I'm gonna meet David and actually be able to build that intimacy. So.
Exactly.
Do you think making sure that the whatever organization you're working with or in has enough intimacy to be able to actually breed that ground of where everyone has a voice?
I think so, and I think technology is moving us towards that, for sure.
Yeah, you have a very, I think as an individual, technology is great. I think holistically it separates, but as an individual, I'm going to use it to go to the moon, and I've noticed you view technology as a thing to connect individuals.
Yeah.
Which I'm still like not there, but I'm like, I hope.
Yeah.
So when I hear you have hope, but I'm like, I can't see it yet.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just a tool. It's how the humans use the tool, which makes it good or bad, dividing or uniting, right?
Yeah.
So I think, from my perspective at least, the more information that's available to people, and available in a way that allows them to digest it easily. So instead of diving deep down rabbit holes and like freaking yourself out about what's happening in the world, you get fed it a little bit easier. So each time you're interested in a new topic, you get to explore that new topic, and there's information about it both on the left and the right. You know, you can get to see both sides of each perspective. You get to learn a little bit more of a balanced, nuanced perspective, because again, the polarities divide. That's what polarization does. It pushes positive and negative apart.
Yeah.
So if you want to unify, you gotta unify the information that's available to everybody. And you know, depending on who's running AI, it could go in that way where everybody gets to learn and experience and expand their awareness, go deeper into their consciousness, become more effective human beings using technology. Or it could be used to, you know, enslave us all. That's always a possibility. But from my perspective, you move towards the reality that you believe is happening. The one that you believe is going to manifest into the world. That's the reality that you're experiencing. And you and I get to sit here because we have a very similar perspective on who we are, what we are, where the universe is going, where Earth is going. Right?
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
it's in general like abundance and not just resources, but in like hopefully like love and, you know, expression and beauty and kind of compassion.
Exactly.
So, you know, I know that you're really into like relationships in general, and perhaps that's why you look at social media or AI or these technologies from that lens, because that's how I use them. But for probably, unfortunately, the general listener, sorry guys, they get caught up in the echo chamber of I'm going to listen to my thought group and my thought group only. So when you look at a phone perhaps, or you're using these technologies, like in real time, when you see something that you think is perhaps not what you think, do you have a initial reaction? Is it Is it And you know, when you do have maybe the more negative one, which I'm sure we both have both, because I know there's times I am pretty good at being open to almost everything, and then sometimes I'm like, you're really losing me on it, and like I oftentimes do my best to be open, but then at times I'm like closed off. Do you usually have a sort of a filter or a set of thoughts that you notice going on when you're kind of wrestling with counter ideas with technologies for someone who's maybe struggling with, well, this woman's talking, I'm a girl, this woman's talking about how like men suck and women rule, for like a, you know, elementary school debate that seems to still be kind of hitting popular culture as like at least for Gen Z and millennials, or just whether it's the left or the right, like, oh, I'm a Trumpster and I love Trump and I'm not going to listen. You know, what could perhaps make these people open up to looking at the opposition?
Yeah, I mean, a part of my evolution has been to notice the reaction that I'm having when I'm
reading something, whatever that is. It doesn't matter if it's, propagating my beliefs or dismantling my beliefs. I used to have a very visceral, very like strong opinion about what I believed. And when I read something that was opposite, I wouldn't say that I got angry, but it was like, how could these people possibly think that way? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, to get out of that, mindfulness. I mean, that's the key. You have to separate the thought inside of your mind from who you are. And when you do that, you'll just begin to notice. So now I've gotten to a point where I can be reading something that 2 years ago would have triggered me so fast, it's not even funny. But now I can sit there and I can listen to it and I can say, I understand where this person is coming from. I feel why this person has this perspective, and I am happy for them. Again, do I have to agree with them? No, not necessarily. Okay. But I can see from their perspective and understand, and that cuts that reaction, I think was the word that you said. And instead of having a reaction, you have a response.
Yeah.
So when you're separate, when you're not so caught up in your thoughts and believing that your thoughts are who you truly are, you can respond to everything that happens in your life, even when it's a super negative experience, when your grandmother passes away or something along those lines. You don't have to react. Yeah, you should feel some sadness and reminisce on the life that she lived and the lessons that you learned from her, but you are always connected to her. So, she doesn't go away. She's not gone. She's just in a different realm that can guide you and help you along those ways, right? If you can slow down your mind enough to hear, to listen.
She's not here.
She's just in the ground. She's buried. She's gone. Like, we are eternal souls. We are not these physical human beings.
Yeah, and I often feel like death is one of those ones where we see the extremes in people, and I think to the people who I've admired the most, didn't show an emotional detachment from it, but they showed an emotional understanding of the situation. And then those people who kind of showed the ability to be more empathetic and compassionate in other situations, talking to other people who may or may not disagree. You say you feel happy for them, though. I pay attention to the opposition so I could squash them with counter information. And I think that's interesting. So I wanna actually understand that.
How does
better.
that feel in your body when you squash them with information?
I'm sure you can even imagine it. My back tights up, my chest perks, and I want to lunge. I do. I'm like, oh man, I want to attack the information, and like perhaps it's like an aggressive curiosity, because if they have a good argument and I actually have to change my mind, I'm like, okay, whatever, sold. But now I'm back to like, that's where I'm at. Like,
but then when
I'm
you see
sold on a
something
team
from the other
always.
side,
Though I'm always. I shouldn't say sold on a team, but I'm sold on a strictness of ideas, and it's hard for me to really let go of the. Like, I'll listen and I'll take in, but the minute you disagree, I'm like working to get you on my side, like in my mind, and you're like, I'm happy for that. I'm like, how dare you still? I'm like, I need to fix you. Like, what's this happiness that is happening, and why, and where?
The happiness comes from the realization that everybody is here for a different reason. That we're not all here to experience the same life or have the same experiences, that there's an infinite number of paths to the same destination. I think this is one thing that some religions have gotten wrong, where there's only one path to salvation, right? There's only one path to
conservative Christian
enlightenment. There's only one path to that. It's like there's right now on the earth there's 8 billion paths to enlightenment. So you have to find your own pathway.
8 billion each person.
Every person has their own pathway to enlightenment on the planet. So,
and at least
I get excited
for
because
their own unique expression with source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you think that in this lifetime the goal is for 8 billion people to reach total enlightenment, I think you might be a little bit over exaggerating what is possible. But if you're here, that you have the understanding that some people are at one level, some people are at another, we're all making our journey through this experience, and I liked when you used the term, you're up at the next level. It's like a spiral staircase, right? We're all in line on this staircase because we're experiencing reality at the same level, but we're experiencing level on the same lateral dimension. But as far as like in a circle, we're all at different paths. Some people are higher, some people are lower, but we're all kind of going through this
And each
cycle.
one's genuine.
Each one's genuine,
And
exactly.
taking away well, you should be here, and just
Right.
realizing that it's just a person having their own genuine reaction,
Yeah.
Like that's what I heard, at least. Like when you said it, it kind of clicked. I'm like, oh shit. Like it's just them. Like why am I angry at them just existing with what they genuinely think
Yeah.
with their
They're doing
circumstance? I can't even impact them in a positive way.
Right.
If my goal is to
change their mind.
because I'm ignoring them.
Right.
I'm ignoring them to begin with. And how could my path even be to connect and
it could be.
intertwine?
They're,
But if I'm like resilient to them to begin with,
Yeah.
I'm like, why would Source give me that blessing? It's like, you know what I mean?
interesting.
Like I hear that and like I want it to be oppositional to you being happy. And my brain kept saying no, like literally, I'm like, no, like don't be oppositional to that. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, you should be, because firm and strong. And it's my own battle just now. And it's like, I need to not, because I'm just not seeing them.
You don't need to do anything. If you would like to live a peaceful life, then you ought to possibly give up some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I'm not connected with them. It's just not happening.
They probably don't even live in the same state as you.
Yeah. Yeah, or even if they do, it's just like you meet someone and you're like, oh, you should like maybe take care of yourself and eat eggs, and like you're trying to out info them.
Yeah, right.
And why you should be healthy. And there are arguments like, oh, I want to be happy. So then I go into hedonism. Why hedonism's not the answer either. And it's like, dude, like this is not like it's like they don't care. It's like they
Talk
have
about
no
their soul.
care.
Talk about what they're here to do. Talk about something
Yeah.
deeper. Don't give them lessons. It's like,
Yeah.
talk about what they want to talk about.
Yeah,
That's what gets people, into thinking differently.
Mm-hmm.
Is when they have a conversation with somebody and they say, that was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Not he tried to tell me what to do and I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
Again, that's the polarity. If you're pushing, the natural reaction is to push away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a law of physics. It's a law of the universe.
Yeah.
So
So when I think about in general though how we're both like we both do have the kind of inclination towards being healthy and kind of geared towards these things, and I know you're into yoga, and this is going to kind of go into Kundalini in a bit, and I know you have probably a deeper and more well-rounded understanding of it, but from my limited understanding is Kundalini is often associated with yoga in many ways in regards to alignment, not enlightenment, but alignment. So the straightening, in the straightening of energies through the spine and like kind of letting go of, where the tension is in the body that's going to be creating this energetic, whether energetic abundance or kind of kinks in the line.
right.
So other than that, what can you really share about Kundalini? Because I know you felt as if there was a time in your life where that really hit you full on in your experience. And
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience. I just kind of one weekend woke up with a whole different perspective on life. It happened for 3 days. It was just like, I woke up Saturday morning and was like at peace with everything that was happening. This was probably the busiest weekend we'd ever had in our company. There was events going on. We had just a whole bunch of stuff. Everybody was working overtime. It was just like the craziest weekend ever. And I woke up that Saturday morning and just was at full peace. I knew everything was going to work out. Everybody was going to do what they were going to do, and everything just seemed to work out perfectly. And leading up to that, I had been doing meditation, I had been doing yoga, I had been doing these kind of like online energy practices, like being able to move your energy through your spinal column, getting rid of blockages in your chakra system. These were like meditations that I was listening to. And again, a lot of people kind of, they lose you when you start talking about chakras and energy systems and stuff like that. But essentially what it is your nervous system. So you have multiple systems inside of your nervous system. Like your heart has 100,000 neurons in it. Most people don't realize that your heart has a small capacity to think for itself outside of the brain. And when there's coherence between the brain and the heart, it's 90% information flowing from the heart to the brain and 10% brain to heart. Everybody thought it would be the other way around, that when you had coherence, brain energy would be flowing to the heart. It's the complete opposite. Your heart sends the intelligence that it has inside of it up to your brain. So in order for it to do that, in order to have that coherence between the heart and the mind, you have to have that full column, your entire spinal column, without any blockages, without any crimps, without any breakdowns between the neurons, basically. You have to have enough energy to flow from the root of your spinal column all the way to the top of your head. And that's what we were opening up. That's what I was opening up, was doing these practices that allowed me to open from the bottom of my nervous system to the top of my nervous system. There's multiple technologies now that exist to do that. I had a bit of both, and I've experienced other technologies throughout, like after that Kundalini experience. But that's the breakdown of what the Kundalini is. And then once that energy is flowing, you start to find that you're having a more balanced approach to life. You're not overreacting, you're not underreacting, you're experiencing life in flow, in that where everything kind of feels like it's moving by itself in your favor. So the things that you're looking to build or create, yes, you got to go out and do the work. You got to go out and like make sure you're showing up every day, and you're at the office, or you're making connections, or you're putting yourself in a place where your business will succeed. But you have to be open to allowing it to flow. You can't say, I'm going in this direction and this is exactly how I'm going to do it over the next 6 months, and if anything changes from that, it's a failure. Because that's going to lead to, it's going to lead to a very small box. Whereas if you're open to, the intelligence of your heart leading you, that's the intuition. It's like the intelligence of the heart. If you're open to that leading you, doors start to open, things start to flow, your life starts to experience almost like you're just observing your life instead of being the one that is doing the life. That's what
when you say observing, would you also say experiencing?
And experiencing,
because it's like when you say doing, it's not the misunderstanding of, like, you're not experiencing it, you're just not trying to keep your hands on the wheel.
Right.
My first thought is it seems like really when, let's say, the break happens, it just comes down to trust. Like trusting the source. Like, okay, like it's like the hands are up and I can't do any more than I've done. And I can just know that even if I didn't do certain things that I should have done, that we're here at this place, these events have to happen, and they're just not gonna happen. It's gonna unravel. And okay, you know what I mean? And just kind of walking in it, versus feeling like you have to do anything beyond everything that's already been done.
I mean, if you're looking at it like that, then I would say you've got to put yourself in positions where you can take some time to step back. Like, you can't be so intricately involved in the organization that you don't get to flow, that you feel like every single moment you got to be on and directing people so that all the things in the business get done. Like, you need to hire people and hire the right people and be able to promote those people to take on the things that you need them to do, so that you can be the one flowing and moving about as you need. Right?
Yeah, and those are the things that will be happening as you make sure you're grounded in your root. And it's like making sure that just because I'm grounded in my root doesn't mean I'm going to sit planted and cross my arms and say it has to be exactly like this and be too stern. But you can only kind of let that go once you've, like, for lack of, like,
the
better
energy's
example,
flowing.
like, if you're not connected to the heart, and it's like, you know, if the heart's not connected to the mind, well, sure, you're maybe working and you're putting in the effort because you got the ground, and you got the emotion, but you're just making jackass decisions. It's actually trusting. It's like that. The flow is there.
Yeah.
It's having everything move from head to toe.
Yeah, trusting and doing the things that allow that energy to remain flowing.
Yeah.
Going to your yoga practice every week, or meditating once in the morning, or reading that book for the first 30 minutes of your day, or going out and watching the sunset every morning. Like, what are those things that ground you and connect you to the divine? Like, what are those situations? For me, it's, watching the sunset. I'd love to go out. There's this James Farm. It's absolutely beautiful. The water goes right down over the water. I mean, it's other than watching it from the bridge, like, you really don't get a better sunset from there. And I'd love to just go out there and watch that sunset. And I feel like for 2 or 3 days, it's just, I'm so much more at peace. And all the things that need to happen in the business that allow me to move forward just kind of happen.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for a phone call from somebody. I go out, I connect, I ground myself and connect myself. And the next day, that person calls and says, "Hey, let's do the thing. Let's make this happen." That, I think, is one of the best practices that you can do.
Yeah.
Find the practice. Again, my suggestion: start with meditation. Start with transcendental. Start with mindfulness. Start with something that allows you to disconnect from your thoughts.
Kind of tap into the body.
Tap into the
like
body.
starting with
Exactly.
grounding. That seems to often be.
Yeah, but
like the base.
find that thing that works for you. It might not be meditation right now. Maybe it's washing the dishes. Maybe it's folding laundry. It could be very mundane things. People like to make this connection to yourself to be this difficult and tricky situation. Like, you don't have to go to the Himalayas to find divinity and connection to everything. You can find it in every single experience that you have every single day. If you have that mentality, if you built a mindset that every experience that you have is teaching you, is showing you a better way or a better version of yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's like the beauty in the mundane, and like, unless you're like king, like, you're gonna have to do all these regular things. Like, your life isn't a highlight reel until you have people who always are. And it's really just learning to value the regularness of life, to see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Grounding is so essential. I think in my life often that's like my biggest lack, is that I just need to be better at grounding. And it's odd because it's like I have the creativity, I have the emotion, I have the intelligence, and it's like everything from the top, just right before the bottom, like at the bottom, I disappear.
Right.
But everything else, it's like, oh, I'm like built those things out. But without that base, there's really nothing. And I think that's really kind of common, specifically with Gen Z and millennials, which is perhaps a youthfulness thing.
Could be youthfulness. It could be also.
I think technology a bit.
Maybe technology. A lot of the experience that you have when your root is blocked comes from when you're 0 to 7 years old. So it's just the childhood.
Yeah.
You all grew up in the same era in America, right? A similar era. Did you all experience the same things? No, but like, you guys have similar experiences. So a lot of times, like the birthing process is one of the big key blocks in your root chakra. Like it blocks your ability to sense safety. So like when you have a C-section, when it's a non-natural birth, sometimes that has like a pretty profound effect on your root chakra, like for a long time until you do the work to unblock it, to clear it, to get rid of that block that you have. It's also, you know, again, from 0 to 7, you know, were you tended to as a baby? Like if you cried, did you cry for 2.5 hours? Did you cry for 10 minutes and then you were soothed?
I was crazy, 10-hour crier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I threw fits over stuffed animals not being aligned a certain way. Like,
Right.
It was crazy, and you know, yeah, it's interesting.
So that's kind of a part of it, is like, you know, really figuring out, all right, I have all these things aligned. What's the one thing that's not aligned? Okay, it's the root chakra. How do I feel it? How do I fix that? How do I heal that? How do I start getting that energy going?
Yeah.
The answer to that is grounding. You either have too much energy or not enough energy built up in your root chakra, and it's unbalanced with the rest of your chakras. So you've got to, and I think you do this, you know, if you've got too much energy, you got to work out. You got to release that energy from your body.
Yeah, I was just talking to my sister about that, because she was saying that she has so much energy. She's like, oh, work out. I was like, yeah. That's the answer.
It's so simple.
You know?
You have more energy, expel that energy. You know, what would you do if you're an electron? You know, you've got too many. You got too many electrons floating around. You shoot one of them off. Like that's how you balance yourself. That's how you find homeostasis, a state of, you know, everything is flowing exactly as it needs to.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps I'm thinking about maybe like it's not like, I'm sure Gen Z and like millennials, and you're a millennial, right?
Millennial.
And you're kind of moving out of it. But that's like with the whole time thing. But maybe like there are people who struggle with other things. Like I'm thinking about, like I know guys who are grounded, but they're not creative.
Right.
You know,
They're
so
robots.
maybe I'm just projecting. Right,
Well, this is the whole thing.
Like Gen Z isn't grounded, but some are, many are. And then maybe the echo chamber of social media kind of purporting this idea.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any like general things that you tend to notice for like say Gen Z and then even millennials that are more consistent?
I mean,
Because like we can kind of like
I think
get some baseline.
I think millennials are doing a lot of work on themselves, and a lot like feeling comfortable to do that. I think Gen Z is also. Yeah.
Like on the heart.
When I grew up, when I was growing up, it was, you were a crazy person if you went to therapy. Like you were a legitimate crazy person. Don't talk to that person. They're in therapy.
Yeah.
Now.
That's crazy.
Now, like,
it's like what you do if you're emotionally mature.
Exactly. Like it's a sign of maturity to go to therapy now.
Yeah.
But when I grew up, it wasn't. And for you to have that perspective, like you probably had no idea that.
Yeah. Like
20 years ago,
loosely,
therapy was like
yeah.
a sin. Like you don't go to therapy. You pray. You know, you hope that things get better, and that was the way that you improved yourself, or you read a book, or you did something like that.
Yeah.
But like you didn't talk to somebody about the reasons that you're having these experiences, and where they come from. Now, I will say, I'm not 100% in on therapy either. I think it's a great start. It's a great opportunity to kind of explore, but there's many, many deeper ways to get to the bottom of where the issues are, where the misalignment is. And a lot of that is through connecting with yourself, like really being able to do that with yourself, whether that's automatic journaling, meditation, you know, kind of one of the cool things is you can leave yourself voicemails or voice messages, and like when you're in a really, you know, out of balance state, leave yourself a voice message and talk about the things that you're feeling and experiencing, and then 2 days later go back and listen to it and see, do I feel that way now? And if not, then you start to see like, oh, that was just a short blip, that was a short experience of me being in this state that I was.
Yeah. So it's like just another mindfulness.
Self-reflection, mindfulness.
I think that's kind of where I started was Alan Watts kind of watching your thoughts, you know, and how everything's like just a stream of thoughts, but you're not any one of these thoughts.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a universal thing, because it seems like you can't really begin without mindfulness. You know what I mean?
It's I don't know. From my experience, no. But again, I've only had the experience of this
Yeah.
body. Well, I mean, that's the cool part. As you start to expand your awareness, you start to be able to draw in past experiences from alternate lives, different lives, past lives, future lives.
Yeah.
However you want to kind of represent
What
that.
was in the dirt that you are?
Yeah.
You know, what
Well, it's
color-
in your DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in your DNA. All your past life experiences are inside of your DNA. And
Mhm.
you're able to access that. That's what they call junk DNA.
Yeah.
It's the memory of all your past life experiences. There's a bunch of other stuff in there. Don't get me wrong. That's not all it is, but that's where we are in science. Is that there's a couple organizations like the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and they've done a lot of studies on DNA, what's in DNA, and how can you access that information. And they go into they've got these multiple levels of awareness that they can put you in.
Mhm.
So when you go into these deeper levels of awareness, you have access to that information in your DNA. You can feel it, you can experience it.
Yeah.
You could call it astral traveling, you could call it time traveling, you could call it interdimensional travel, whatever you want to kind of call it. What you're really doing is you're accessing information that's inside it.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it from like the really pragmatic standpoint of like this is like dirt that has been recycled, like the earth, everything.
Yeah.
And like you're from each generation and generation and generation. All this stuff is just like here.
Yeah.
And it's just all being recycled, literally. And it's like you are that thing, you know what I mean? And just like I can access my hand, why can't I access a piece of data that could be useful or whatever? I often think that like perhaps the things that excite me come from the things that excited my grandparents. They grew up on a farm in Italy, and like then they went to a city, and the people in the city kind of stayed in the city for a short period of time, and then we're all like, we want farms still. And I'm like, man, there has to be something like in my coding that is pushing that, or in like our eating habits, so on and so forth. We see stuff about like generational trauma in people's eating habits, and we hear it and we see it in families of like, oh, like we're just built this way, we're just big boned or whatever, and like they've had generations of people having like literal like eating patterns, and like it's gonna continue to show itself and express itself until someone
breaks it, until
You
somebody's
know.
mindful enough to say, where is this thought coming from?
and
Where's
maybe
this
they don't want to
belief?
break it.
Where's
Maybe
this
they want to
belief?
celebrate it further too.
That again, we have free will.
You know, like,
they can
'cause-
do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But if they want to connect back to their divinity, if they want to like find who they truly are inside, it's going to be difficult if they have, if their body isn't functioning properly.
I did say trauma. I suppose, like sometimes there's like good memories and good generational things behind food too.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, like
It's the luck of the draw, right?
yeah.
You can consider it the luck of the draw, or you can consider it, what I typically consider is that we each chose which body, which experience to kind of incarnate into, right? So you chose to have this type of experience because there's a lesson in that experience that you get to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot that our manifestations of how we look often comes down to who we are. Like people look as they are often. Like if everything's energy, and energy is just like, for lack of a better word, energy. It's just
It's formless.
it's power.
Yeah.
We'll say, and then you put power into different, codes. It's gonna express the codes, and it's gonna give it energy in this code or that code, whether that code is longer nose or shorter nose. For me, the Roman nose, or for some people, it's the button nose, or it's the expression of wild curly hair, or not curly hair. It's often like the energy is being pushed into these places to express these patterns. think oftentimes that like we find a correlation between like beauty and people's like love for one another, or ability to express that love. But then I suppose there's also loving people who have had horrid forms. So, I think the thought probably ends there. But I wanted
More to be thought about.
Pardon?
More to be thought about.
More to be thought about, but that's the point of Neanderthal Talks.
Yeah.
And here I am with Joe, and I want to wrap this up, but I kind of want to just end on the note of what all you have going on again, and what are you wanting to show in the future.
Yeah, so like I said, the podcast is always a great way to kind of like understand who I am and some of the ideas that I'm sharing. I get a bunch of different people from all over the world to kind of come in and have conversations. We get to talk about whatever we feel like talking about. So that's always a nice
separate YouTube channel, right?
It's all on the same Garnation YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah. I run it all through YouTube, and then if you want to listen to it on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and 6 other ones that it broadcasts to. So that's a cool one. Again, school.com/theflowforum. That has a bunch of tools and techniques that we talked about some of them today. There's a little bit deeper stuff. It's a work in progress right now. I'm adding stuff as I go.
Well, that's like complementary to your YouTube also, right?
Yeah.
Like there's stuff referencing.
Yeah, all of it kind of references that. It's I'm trying to build like an ecosystem where
exactly.
Wherever you process information, that's where. But I would say the school and my blog, which is joegarner.substack.com.
Okay.
That is where I kind of share deeper information, deeper ideas that I'm kind of playing with in life. So that's an interesting one. And then, all the socials, most of them are at Garnation. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them aren't. I don't remember, but they're all on there. Instagram's probably one I use the most, though.
Yeah.
At Garnation.
Okay.
And then my website's joegarner.net. It's always a work in progress. It's whatever is exciting me right now. So what I've got on that right now is essentially consulting for businesses to bring a little bit of mindfulness and meditation into the business, or start bringing consciousness into the business. Like, are people aware of their thoughts? Are they aware of their innate perspectives that they have, and how can we expand that awareness so that they can maybe be a little bit more inclusive, or a little bit more understanding of people, that it doesn't always have to be one single way, that we can all kind of get along in an organization, as long as, again, there's a culture, there's like, we're moving towards this thing, whatever that is, betterment of humanity, faster production of energy, better production of energy. What's that goal? And then can you allow people to kind of move within the organization and kind of flow energy around the organization a little bit less top down and a little bit more, wider perspective. So that's it's a consulting thing, mostly for businesses that have been in business for probably 5 years or more.
Okay, so more established businesses.
Established businesses.
With systems that already exist.
Systems, people, that kind of stuff, and they're hitting a wall. They're where I was 5 or 6 years into my business journey. That's what I'm promoting on that website. But for most people probably watching this, Garnation School /
I think a lot of boomers are going to be into this, so probably the last one will be more interesting.
And what I'm really, the next focus for me is coaching people through change. That's kind of the focus for me over the next year or so. So that
change a platform or what?
Change would be any change that they're experiencing in their life.
Oh, okay.
How to build the tools that help them deal with change in their life, whether that's forced change or change that they want to experience.
So
that's where the coaching is right now. So I'm working with a couple people that just retired. I've got a couple people that are 10, 15 years into their career, and they're trying to see, do I want to continue down this pathway? Do I want to find a new pathway? How do I know what pathway that is? How do I, make these big decisions? And what I try to help them to do is tune into that voice inside of them, to listen to, be mindful of all the voices inside of them, and pinpoint what is the one that feels like it's guiding me the most, and tune into that.
Yeah. So, no, is that just is that all? Like that's so,
yeah, that's
is
all
that
I'm doing
everything
right
that
now.
We are gonna be linking. So, just to tie it up and using the whole ecosystem thing, like you have all of these ecosystems going, and the end goal is to kind of end up getting something kind of physical, tangible that's consistent, and like a community. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the goal, I'm actually looking at a spot up in Rehoboth right now.
Okay.
So the goal is to have some place where I can host a community. I've been doing this men's group, trying to get that up and started. So started up in the summer, everybody's busy. So I think as we get into fall, I think that'll start to pick up some momentum there. I'm talking with another buddy who started one up in Rehoboth, so maybe kind of merge those two together and see if we can get a group of men that are interested in expanding who they are and expanding their awareness and trying to grow as individuals and as humans, as a community. So, but yeah, physical location and honestly, an online community is just as powerful these days.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of that is kind of what we just shared before. So, continuing to build that. But I noticed you said men, and I thought about that. I was like, do you foresee that like your skills are able to kind of help both genders, or?
Oh, for sure. Most of my clients have been women up to this point.
Okay. Yeah. I almost brought I didn't even think about it when I asked if I could bring a person. It was a female.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I think I'm gonna be stuck with this person. I shouldn't say it like that, but they're lovely. But I was like, man, that's funny. But yeah, that's really exciting. And I think it is going to happen anytime with the location. We definitely need something in real time with real people.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure to keep you guys updated on what's going to be built or what's happening locally. There's all sorts of meditations and other types of things going on and retreats that he's cooking up. So we'll talk to you when we talk to you.
Love it. Thanks for having me.